side, Thursday night, how's it going? Alright, strip back, good crack, multi-trade podcast. Share the knowledge you know, help to make our sector grow. Everybody's learning from experts and the journeymen. Insights.
Right, Keith, Season 5, Episode 7, back again. And I guess before we go rolling into this week's episode, we'll get into a very important Q&A session that we posted onto our Instagram page this week, looking for our followers to try and get a bit more in-depth into knowing what we're all about.
Yeah, we've got plenty of questions back in, Steve, and I suppose we'll roll away with them. So Richard Cockerline, good friend of the show, always has been. He gave us a good few questions actually, but the one that stood out was, could you do my job and could I do your job? Could we do a role reversal in our professions? I'll let you answer first.
I've been in the maintenance game for so long now that I think I have nightmares about crawling on my knees through attics. I don't think I could go back to it now, being out of it for so long. I probably have it too easy. That's the way I see it right now. I have it too easy. I'm coming home with my clothes looking the same way that they did when I went out the door, and I don't want to go back to having to maybe change them 2 or 3 times during the day from having insulation and God knows what else all over them, you know?
Yeah, sure. Look, you see the state of me some of the Thursday nights when we're coming in here to do the podcast. It's not a pretty sight sometimes, and it's not a pretty smell sometimes as well. So I can see where you're coming from with that. But the flip side of it is probably I'd like to think that I'd be able to do your job, but in practical terms, I don't know if I'd be able to wean myself off. Being out in the field, like I'd often have my apprentices asking me, like, why the hell are you in the attic, like, you know, or why the hell are you doing the chasing, like it. But it's just a natural thing with me, and just I do like to keep busy, like. But I know in terms of your job, a lot of it is, you know, trying to manage your time and trying to manage your clients, and also from talking to you is the customer care that you give to your clients, and that's something that you're good at. So look, there's pros and cons for both sides of it. Yeah,
just the reactive aspect of it, you know. So, you know, with every kind of job, you don't know what's going to come around the corner. You can get your call outs and stuff like that, but my job could be predominantly call outs all day long, you know. Now you've got your planned maintenance, you've got your emergency lighting, you've got your fire alarm testing and the likes, but, you know, they're considered to be your easy days because you know what's coming, you know what you have to do, and whatever remedials come from that, you just have to do your paperwork and make sure that you do it right, you quote it right, and you get the right information across to the client in order for them to approve it. But when you're in the fits of maybe one reactive job and another one comes in at the same time, and then you have to try and on the spot, you could be the closest electrician to go to it. So you have to try and think, right, do I either finish this one that I'm on, or is it possible to make this one safe because it might not be a priority one job? So
yeah.
You might be able to have to make that one safe and then tip off to the next one and get that one completed with still having the mindset of going back to the one that you were currently on. There's nobody there really to, you know, support you on that unless there was somebody else working close by that could come in and double up with you. But I remember even working with you and, you know, working on the sites, and, you know, I've done my time on the sites. I feel like I've done it. To me, it's like a muscle memory thing, and I haven't worked those muscles in a long time. So I feel like they just wouldn't be able to take it, you know.
Where on the flip side of that, I feel like if I was in your role, I probably might be a bit too hectic for the type of clientele that you'd be dealing with, like, and maybe my time management wouldn't be on a par with, like, I could only imagine if I had maybe 4 or 5 call outs per day, I might lose half the day on the first call out, because to me, like, I get my job done, but I might hang back talking to the customer, you know, and like in my line, that's essential as well, because you're trying to, you know, build a rapport with a customer, with a singular, like, you know, domestic customer that you want to get the call back from. Where in your line of it, it's like you're probably dealing with someone in their office or part of their management, where you both have equal intent to just get the job done and get back to work, you know, where ours would be slightly different.
Yeah, and I could, like, today actually, I was nearly my own worst enemy, because, you know, you get these calls where they're requesting you know the site. Yeah, they know you've done a good job there before. They might have had a panic situation where their power has been down, and, you know, it's the worst thing in the world for them, and it's all, you know, a ticking time bomb for them. Like, the longer their power is down, like, it could be lost earnings, it could be, you know, it could be anything, you know, it could be anything down to them having to send staff home. So
a familiar face was welcome as well.
Yeah, it's definitely welcome. Like, so you're nearly getting to the point where the help desk is ringing you and they're like, they requested you by name, you know, and in a way, you know, you're saying, oh, like, you know, that means that I have to go to all the jobs now, but it does, you know, make you feel good about you're leaving a lasting effect with clients, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because like you've mentioned to me that you've worked with people in the past where that doesn't really matter to them, like, and it's just a job, it's just a paycheck at the end of the week, and that can become, I'd imagine that can become quite monotonous. It's just like just get through the day and get it done, like.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I think, you know, there's only one life, like, you know what I mean, and we've only got one period of time that we have to go through to earn money, so you might as well, you know, mentally stimulate yourself while you're doing that.
Yeah, we've all seen an on-call, you know, service technician. We all know them. We've seen some throughout the years, and they you know, you nearly be afraid to call them. You don't want that situation either, like, you know.
Yeah, so look, I guess
hope that answers it.
Yeah, rounding things up, I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I don't want to do what you're doing either, so I'm happy. So
another good one that came in, and I think this episode is actually perfect for it. We have a previous guest of ours, Lena Baldock, asked, would she recommend, or would we recommend, working abroad? And you know, I have a small bit of experience working in Australia, but not enough to be able to, I think, give people a good opinion on if it's good or not. I think everything is each to your own, you know what I mean? If you have the drive and the need and the want to work abroad, and you think that's going to be something that you need to do to better yourself or to gain that extra bit of experience, not just skills within the role that you're working in, but just personal development, then go for it, you know? And especially when you don't have any ties, you know, holding you down. And I think
100%,
that's going to be a thing that we're going to talk about on this episode now, because we're going to have Karl Cummins. He's an electrical apprentice. He's fourth year at the minute, but he's had the experience of working abroad in Europe, which and as an apprentice as well, which you don't really get, you know.
It's a unique experience, and like you'll hear from him, I'm sure he's going to explain, it's he grabbed the bull by the horns and just went for it, you know, with the support of his family and his girlfriend. He decided to do it, and he's going to go in a bit more in depth on the overload segment. Yeah,
and after the overload segment, we've got Chris Loughlin, the MD of Hispec, one of the leading suppliers of life safety systems within the UK and Ireland, and he's coming to join us to talk about his career journey and the business and the growth of the business. So I guess before we get into that, we've got, as we mentioned, Karl on the overload segment. So let's get into it. Karl, thanks for joining myself and Keith on the overload. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Great opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out, and me and Stephen have mentioned before, it's hard to get the apprentices in, or the lads that own electrical companies here in Ireland. So fair play to you. Brave decision coming into two of us.
Point again helps.
Yeah. Loosens you a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Where were you coming from today?
I was coming from college. I was in DKIT, phase 4. We were doing a bit of testing today. Nice, interesting work. It's somewhere I think I might expand into when I qualify. I got caught in the M50, like most people.
There's no getting away from it, is there?
Yeah.
But DKIT brings back memories for me. It's really where they breed the best of them.
Yeah.
So,
time will tell.
You never went there, see what?
That's what time does tell. But like what we usually do is we try to ease the guests in. We ask them where they're from and where they grew up and what their schooling was like and stuff like that. So you don't have to spend too much time on it, but like if you want to share where you're from and what even led you to get into the electrical game.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm originally from Dublin A. If any know the Liberty Markets, you're right there, South Earl Street. So I went to school around that area initially, and then my parents moved out to Loughlin. So I spent one more year going to school in St. Catherine's, just the back of Cork Street there. And then from first class to sixth class, I was in Loughlin, and my secondary school was right across the road as well. So I done first to sixth year there as well. Loughlin's a nice area. Very, very lucky at my upbringing. Good parents there the whole way, support me, and there's not really much more I can say about that. But in terms of how I got into electrical, I went to college. I went to do sports management and coaching for 3 years, and COVID hit, so I decided to do one more year. But I just couldn't get it. I just kind of ran out of steam towards the end. I think a lot of people probably struggle with COVID. Just cabin fever, if you'd call it that. Being in all the time, and it's just something no one was used to. So I ran out of steam, and then what got me into electrical was we were doing like a DIY project out the back on the shed. We were doing the shed up, and we had all sorts of trades in doing stuff for us, the floors and skimming the walls, plastering, everything else. But we didn't have anyone to do the electrical stuff or painting it. So I said, I'll have a go at that, a few YouTube videos, a bit of DIY, a bit of Dutch courage. And I tried my hand the electrical stuff, and I found I just understood it, you know. I said, this is interesting. Never really considered a trade. So I said, I'll try an apprenticeship. I'll try reach out. I'll try something and see where it takes me. So I went up to Kildare to interview for a job, and he rang me back a week and a half later, and he said, the job's yours. So I started in domestic and, a bit of commercial work. Very, very rarely done any industrial at the start. But I was working one-to-one with the boss the whole time. So
that's good, yeah.
I was getting a lot of learning, a lot of on-the-job learning, a lot of responsibility nearly straight away. So I kind of just built it from there,
That's crazy, isn't it? Like, that's the kind of the first lad that's come to us and said, like, most people come in and say, like, they're nearly pushed from a family member, or they've always wanted to do it, but no one's ever come in and said, like, they were doing something else, and then just simply down to a little DIY job. Yeah. It just tweaked the imagination and wanted you, spurred you on to do it. That's mad.
You mentioned there working one-to-one, and myself and Key have, raised this on other episodes, especially back in maybe season 1 and 2, where people hone in on, they need to be with the big guys, or, you need to be with the well-established big names, Yeah. But how important it actually is to be able to, get hands-on experience, like with a one-on-one, qualified electrician who's been in the trenches, and like you've mentioned it before as well, Keith, like having that experience too.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah. From you obviously having the passion for going into, was it the fitness end of things, or leaving school, the sports therapy?
It was sports management and coaching.
Yeah. So have you taken any of those interests into the electrical game, like the management end of it? Like, have you any aspirations to, go forward and maybe go self-employed at any stage?
Maybe down the line. It's definitely not something I'm thinking about right now. I'm just thinking about doing the best I can in phase 4 and trying to get distinctions in phase 4, and then just move forward that way, stage by stage. But it is in my head, like testing. I really enjoy that aspect of the work. You know, I think it's interesting, the fault finding and that.
Yeah.
That really will get me going. Get the brain firing. You know, it's something I really enjoy. But in terms of like, you know, like management or anything like that, like a charge hand or anything like that, it's not something I'm really thinking about at the minute. You know, maybe if the opportunity presents itself down the line, but it's not really something I'm actively
Actually,
thinking
think
about
like
at the minute.
with the skills that would, like, you know, you'd sort of develop within that type of role, that it must be tough then to try and, you know, move into another capacity of an apprentice, where not that you're like a dog's body, but you do sort of start off like that, don't you? Like where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
become, it's completely the opposite of what, you know, you would have had envisioned for yourself, like of getting into.
Sometimes you're like, depending on how you get on, sometimes you're a product of your own success as well. You're getting on well, and you do show the, I suppose, the leadership trait. You're just naturally going to fall into them positions anyway. Plus, you having done the course that you were on as well, you'd probably be well suited to it. Like, so.
Yeah, sure. Like, I mean, there's a couple of instances there, like in the last job I was in before I came to phase 4, where we might be wiring a panel or something like that, and like I'd just take the paperwork. I wouldn't say to the lads, I'm in charge here or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I just take the paperwork and I'd say, right, check that off. That's that word, and not in the case of, you know, I'm up here and you're here and like, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
It's just a case of I kind of enjoyed that and saying, right, that list is completely ticked off. We can hand that over. Like, I know myself that we wired all this and I'm going to stand over it. You know, do enjoy that aspect of it. But
so it's not really going to be his choice then. You're just going to fall into it, unfortunately. Yeah.
The sports end of it, obviously, though, like you must have an interest in, you know, fitness maybe as well.
Yeah. Like I play for a team, local enough, Dublin Celtic. Like, we train twice a week. We have matches on a Friday night. I have a match tomorrow night. Like, it definitely is something that has always been an interest of mine. I've played football as long as I can remember. And that's definitely, it's one of the tougher things I had to give up when I went working where I did, because you're gone for so long and then you come back and you have 1 week and you're out of sorts a little bit because you've not been training, you've not been in amongst the group, and you've definitely not been playing matches. So, and
there's no regret like with it. Like you've started your apprenticeship, do you still think about like giving up something that you've already started, and that, you know, the ramifications of that, maybe that you might have made the wrong decision, or have you, you know, has your apprenticeship sort of solidified your decision that you've gone down the right route?
No, it has definitely solidified my opinion that I've done the right thing. Like, I made my peace with that a long time ago, you know, when I decided to do this. Like, sport is great, it's brilliant, but in terms of earning a living out of it, it's hard in Ireland. It is. It's very, very hard, you know. You look at like the League of Ireland, say, and like even GAA and the more popular things, you know, like there's lots of spectators, but in terms of the people in it, it's quite small. The people who are actually able to earn a living out of it and live comfortably, it's very small. So,
yeah, you mentioned obviously the apprenticeship. What stage are you at in the apprenticeship yourself, and how have you found it so far?
Well, I'm technically a 4th year now, since early January.
If the boss is listening.
Won't be right.
Yeah.
And I'm in phase 4, as we mentioned. So I'll be out of that then in middle of March. But I'm enjoying it. Like, it's good, you know, getting to get more responsibility as time goes on. Been lucky to get a lot of different experience as well during my time in the trade. A lot of domestic, a lot of commercial, a lot of industrial now lately, because a lot of it's data center work. We kind of mentioned upstairs that, you know, solar is still a big thing here. Like, with the grants and everything, it's very accessible to everybody. Yeah, it is definitely something where I might like to dip my toes in it and see, you know, is it something where I could learn it and add another string to my bow? But I have to just wait and see if that's going to happen, you know.
Happy with DKIT?
Reasonably happy, yeah. Like, the first 2 weeks, all the full-time students were off, so getting parking was grand, and
run the place, yeah.
Yeah, if you wanted to go up and have a game of pool or something like that, like, it was reasonably okay, you know. But all the full-time students are back now, which, like, look, they're entitled to do. They're there for their course.
It's mayhem now.
Yeah, but it's crazy. Like, if our classes start at 9, we realistically need to be there at no later than 8:30, because otherwise you can't get parking, you know. And I think it's APCOA that run the clamping up there. Like even if you're kind of parked along, like out of the way, if you're not in a parking spot, you're probably gonna get clamped. So it can be expensive.
What's the consensus like between the group of apprentices that you have in your class regarding the curriculum that's being taught at the minute?
Yeah, like I'd say electronics is probably the one where a lot of lads are like, Jesus, like I don't really see the point in this. I'm not an electronic security systems engineer or anything like that where this is going to apply to me. It's just, it might be something that will get me out of the hole maybe in a few years' time, in terms of there could be something wrong with a little PCB board or something like that. But like overall, I'd say it's pretty good.
There's a bit of talk online. There's a few groups and chats on Facebook and Instagram and stuff where you see a lot of apprentices sort of advocating for the likes of the electronics to be maybe substituted with the likes of solar and renewables. Now, nobody's saying take away the fundamentals of electronics. Obviously, it needs to stay there, but maybe there has to be a bit of a division between it where they can add in something else and maybe move on with the times,
Yeah, well, like when I was in college, you had modules that were known as, there were electives, so you could pick what you wanted. I think that could be a viable option there where you might say, what really suits me? Where's my career going to go? What am I really interested in? And then you say, right, well, I don't want to take that class. I'd like to take that one because I feel like that's going to add more value to me and my skill set.
That's a great point.
It really is, yeah. I never actually thought of it in that sense, like where you get to a point where, you have
multiple choice on what you're going to do. Like, say if there was four subjects, you could pick 2 of the 4, something like that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I have to get you on the board.
Find yourself in another job now.
So obviously you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, and one of the videos I've seen you putting up on TikTok was something that caught my eye was working abroad, which a lot of people think, the only way you're going to work abroad is by getting your qualification here, getting your certificate, and then heading off to the likes of Australia or Canada. But you can actually, as an apprentice, working for an Irish company, work across Europe, and you've had that experience.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to get to work in both France and Sweden, Paris, and then the north of Sweden in Gävle. It wasn't something I really sought out or anything like that. I started in Paris, and basically what kicked that off was a mentor of mine, basically someone who'd showed me a lot to do with testing and that sort of stuff. He just kind of texted me out of the blue and just said, what do you think of Paris? What do you think of France? And I said, what do you mean? Like, what's...
It's lovely.
To go or what?
Holidays or what?
And, he said, no, to work. And I said, Jesus, I never thought I'd be answering a question like that. So I just said, look, I'm still in phase 2. Leave it with me, but I'm definitely interested. And like, obviously with something like that where you're moving country, you have to make sure that the people you might be leaving behind are okay about it. And I have a girlfriend, I have family, and I had to discuss it with them and ask them what they think. And the big driving factor was, what's on offer.
Of course.
I'm not going to uproot my whole life for nothing, So I got all the details and everything sounded good, and discussed it, as I said, with girlfriend, family, and we just said, yeah, we'll go for it. So the start of April, I flew out and done a few months there, and it was great. Really, really enjoyable experience.
What were your first thoughts or, I suppose, expectations on what you were going to meet when you came over there?
I didn't really know what to think, to be honest. Bit nervous, obviously, you're not, it's the unknown really, isn't it? Because I didn't even really know that apprentices were sent abroad until I got this text. So I tried to do a bit of homework, but it's difficult enough to find the info on it. You really have to seek it out if you want to find the info about like what lads think of it and like the money end of it and the conditions, like your flights and whatever else. But it was kind of outlined to me what the package would be, and I was like, right, that sounds decent enough, But I'd been abroad before. I lived in America for 3 months on a J1, and I was only 21 going over, so I did lean on that experience heavily and said, Jesus, you're only a pup when you went there.
Yeah.
You're a bit older, you've worked in building trades, like you'd be grand, just roll your sleeves up and you'll be okay here, So I went out, and the deal was basically, 17 days on, 4 days off, or you could do 3 weeks on and 1 week off. And and like the package itself was decent enough, you know, for a third year apprentice.
And what was the reality of it like in terms of, I suppose, where you were living and
Even the site work and
Yeah,
the
like
people
that-
that you're working with.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, well, initially I was the only apprentice sent out to that job in Paris, and everyone else was qualified.
Coffees and tea runs, was it?
No, not quite.
And
You wait.
lads.
Yeah, Fantas lads. No, it was grand. Like, we were in a suburb, just south of Orly, and I was in an apartment. I was sharing with a qualified electrician from Northern Ireland, and like, we'd walk to work every day, or we get a lift initially because the weather was quite poor when we landed in April. And then as the weather improved, we'd walk. So it'd only be 15 minutes or so to site. There's bakeries on the way. You can get your coffee, you can get your pan chocolate, or
Lovely.
yeah, or whatever it is.
Croissant.
Croissants, yeah. They had like special croissants that were like double chocolate or Nutella chocolate, you know. So I tried to stay away from them if I could, you know. But the work was enjoyable, you know. They do a lot of things differently there. Like their fire alarm, for example, is in plastic. Whereas over here it's all steel. The UK is steel, which is what you would think, you know.
Yeah.
It's protecting the fire cable.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want the plastic burning, you know, which would happen. If, but good scope of works to try and learn, and Vesda and that sort of stuff. I never touched Vesda before that, and then I was doing Vesda walls flat out, just copy paste. So it was enjoyable. I know it was adding strength to my bow the whole time.
What's the nitty gritty end of, lodging and pay? So like obviously you'd have a flat rate of what you'd be getting as an apprentice in Ireland.
Yeah.
Is there any negotiation in regards to the pay for being away or even flights home and stuff like that?
You can ask the question, definitely, 100% you can. It really depends on who you're dealing with. Like if you're dealing with like a really, really big kind of faceless company where there's not one individual in charge of it, then you're kind of going to be out of luck there, because it's just they're setting a rate, and they don't know you well enough to say this guy is worth whatever he's asking, and they're never going to know you that well because it's someone up in a boardroom somewhere or whatever. But if it's a kind of smaller, medium-sized contractor, then I'd say you do have a chance of pleading your case there, particularly if you're very good at what you do. In terms of the way it worked for me, it was Irish rates. It was the Irish third year rate at the time. It was €16.50 or €17 or something. You'd get your single lodge, 170 or something a week, and if you crossed 39 hours, you were getting your time and a half, and then the couple of hours on the Saturday, that was all double time, and then the digs were paid. The digs were paid for, and the deal with flights was I'd get €100 a month towards the flights, but you booked all that yourself. So
okay,
yeah. So like the only real drawback I can say there, because still making a monster wage as a third year, the only real drawback was in terms of getting to the airport and coming from the airport on that side, on the French side, you had to pay for that yourself.
Right.
Right, so that hit in the pocket, obviously.
Yeah. You're talking 80 quid for the two taxis probably.
How long of a stint did you do in each country, I suppose?
So in France, it was about 4 months all in. And before I was there, I'd applied for a job in Germany, in Frankfurt. And they only came back to me when I was in Paris.
Okay.
And they offered a very, very good deal as well, probably better than the one I was on. And like there was other little perks, like they were looking after the flights as well. So the administrative side of things that I had to take care of myself, they were taking that off me, that's a plus,
Yeah.
It's less
stress.
Yeah, it's less things for me to do on my own free time. So I'd emailed them back and I said, yeah, can you schedule an interview or whatever for this? And I met with them and they offered it to me on the spot, and they gave me a start date, and I actually couldn't make it work, the start date they were looking for, because I had a holiday planned with my other half, and I asked for a little bit of flexibility for that day, but they just said, look, it's not up to us, it's up to the team on the ground, and they need you by this date, so if you can't make it, we have to pull the offer. And I said, okay, look, I'm sorry, like I have to stay where I am then, but if anything else comes up on your end, let me know. And then maybe a month later, they emailed me back and said, what do you think of Sweden and Gävle? And I said, Jesus, yeah, like that's interesting. Again, consulted with the other half and parents and everything else, and kind of outlined what I could see in terms of an improvement in the situation. And they all were like, go for it, go for it. You're already away. You may as well try and get as much out of it as you can, you know, and see more places before you have to come back to phase 4 or whatever. And took it, went out there, done about 5 months out there, loved it. Sweden's beautiful country. I couldn't praise it enough. Different currency, which took a bit of getting used to. They use the krona, Swedish krona. So it's about 10 to 1, the ratio of it. So
You thought you were flush.
thought it was flush, yeah. It's in for a rude wake when we went to the pub. But Sweden was great, yeah. And I landed end of July. Weather was scorching, 25, 30 degrees every day, t-shirt weather.
Lovely.
Yeah, we were in a hotel for about a week, and then we got settled in our digs. We were in a new build house. All the appliances are brand new. Vans deployed, fuel card, everything completely looked after. So we literally only had to just feed ourselves, and then if you want a gym membership, get a gym membership, and then if you go out for the odd pint or something like that and a bit of food with the lads, that's on you. They're not going to pay for that.
Yeah.
Was it a similar type of work you were doing in Sweden as in France?
No, it was a big enough change, to be honest. Like in France, I was doing a lot of fire alarm and plastic conduit, strut and VESDA, containment, like the odd bit of steel conduit as well. But when I went over to Sweden, it was a lot of instrumentation work, which I'd never gotten the chance to do before. So I was intrigued by that. You know, it's a separate trade from us, really, but
Yeah.
a lot of the principles are the same. You're still wiring from A to B. You're terminating at either end, and you know the cables have to be nice and neat as they come in from A to B. So there was a lot of that, a lot more steel conduit than what I was used to. So I think I got decent enough at that towards the end, and then some small power stuff as well. You know, nothing out of the ordinary, just lights and sockets and that sort of stuff.
So it didn't affect you in a negative way coming back then into your phase 4, not really doing what a typical apprentice would be doing out on site in Ireland?
At the minute, no, I'm fine. Okay, I think I'm keeping the pace okay with phase 4, particularly the workshop side of it. Like we're doing motor control at the minute first. Like we're not doing the 3-phase distribution or anything like that yet. But at the minute, I think I'm keeping pace okay.
Like you said, it's A to B stuff anyway. Once you're reading your drawings and stuff, which you sound like you enjoy doing anyway, it's fairly all right. Like, you know. Did you do much travelling to and from those countries back to Ireland, or did the missus get a chance to go out and see you? Or?
Yeah, so initially I was going to bring her over to France, and then I got the offer to go to Sweden. So I had to shelve that. I was going to bring her over for anniversary in September. But obviously because I was in Sweden from the end of July.
It's one way of getting out of it.
Well, no, but I ended up bringing her over anyway for 4 or 5 days. So we went down to Stockholm.
Lovely.
Which was grand. She loves it. She wants to get back there. So I'm hoping I can make that happen for her. You know, I really enjoyed Stockholm as well. Like when we were there, we went to see hockey games and like an ice bar and gravity bars and that sort of stuff. We were able to take in a lot. You know, a couple of museums and everything else, and then down by the docks as well is quite nice. And then she obviously had to go home at the airport. That was tough enough, you know.
Yeah.
It is, like, managing the distance is definitely, it is a big drawback for this kind of work. You know, and obviously for your family as well. You know, you don't see them as much as you'd like to. But I got to go back down to Stockholm again with a few of the lads. We went down to see Stockholm and, Sweden and Slovakia in the Nations League. So that was deadly. It was
deadly.
Yeah, 8 of us went down together and watched that and then drove home in the middle of the night.
Did you get talking to any of the qualified lads who were out there to try and gauge what the potential would be for doing that kind of work after you're qualified?
Yeah. Like, in truth, like the opportunities if you're qualified for that line of work, I think are better. And like I've been keeping a bit of a keen eye on like LinkedIn and electrical jobs in Ireland, that sort of stuff on Facebook, and a lot of the posts they're looking for qualified lads and GOs. It's not really qualified lads and apprentices. You know, you kind of you kind of need to know someone, or you need to be savvy enough to email them if you're looking for an apprentice role. But definitely, from what I can see, for opportunities for the qualified lads, they're broader than if you're an apprentice, you know, because if you're an electrician, the way they're looking at it is you're the finished article. Like, we don't really need to gauge where you're at. We're just expecting you to come in here and just
Hit the
maintain
ground
that.
running, yeah.
You know?
It's good. It's good experience for you now if you do apply for in the future when you do become qualified, because you have that experience and you know the crack. You will. We'll see you on this challenge wall now shortly, so we'll be able to gauge.
For the likes of, you know, the apprentices that are in with you, that want to sort of see the journey that you're on through your apprenticeship, or if you ever go abroad again and you're going to vlog it or document your apprenticeship going forward, or even your qualified work going forward, where can they find you? Yeah,
well, at the minute I mainly post on TikTok. So the handle is just Karl Spark, Karl, not C. So I'm picking up now a little bit in terms of posts and stuff. Because when I was away, you're not really supposed to document what you're doing. Like, privacy is kind of the key thing that a lot of clients are looking for. So they don't really like, you know, the inside of their buildings being documented and all that. But at the minute, I'm in Dundalk. I'm in my own little cubicle when I'm working away, so I can document a bit more. So that,
even the day in the life,
the lifestyle, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
you know, setting up, and even the travelling end of it, and you know the digs and getting to and from the sites is more of an insight into, you know, the real life behind working abroad. You know,
working abroad,
definitely.
Yeah, and if you were to leave, I suppose, one positive and one negative from working abroad to our listeners, what would they be?
Well, in terms of the positive, I'd say it's definitely a way for young people or young tradespersons to get a leg up. Like, we know how expensive this country is becoming for a lot of things. You know, trying to get on the property ladder is very expensive. You know, even if you have like your Help to Buy is not like that. So if you're abroad and you're making good money, it's not even so much about what you're making, it's about what you're able to keep, because so many of your expenses are being covered or subsidised that your wage is largely being unaffected by the whole thing. So it's very easy then to just, if you have your head screwed on, to just save that, set it aside, and then you have, you know, a couple of hundred from your pay to just go do whatever you want with it. You know? So from that point of view, that'd be the big plus that the work abroad would give you. And then the drawback, I think it's an obvious one that a lot of people will probably recognise, is that you're away from your family and your friends and your girlfriend, and if you don't get on with the people you're with, it can be very easy to become a bit isolated and just kind of shepherded away from the rest of the group. You know, if you don't all get on with each other. Now, I was quite lucky. No matter where I went, I was able to get on with the people there. Most people they're straightforward to deal with, because they all recognise that we're all in the same boat here. We're here for a purpose. We're here to try save a few quid, progress as an apprentice or as a qualified person, and we all want to get back after 3 weeks here and go home and spend a week with our loved ones.
Does the company do sort of check-ins or, you know, mental health checks on their staff while they're away?
Occasionally, yeah. Like I did get it when I was in Paris. Like the project manager, you know, I knew quite well. Like, he would check in me intermittently, particularly at the beginning when you're still trying to settle in. And he'd say, "How are you getting on? How are you find everything? How are the lads treating you?" Etc. etc. You know, they would definitely would check in with you regularly just to see how you're getting on and see where your head's at. You know,
good to know as an apprentice. You know what I mean? That you're not just being dropped into another country and just being left. Yeah,
now definitely. The only thing I'd say about that is, like, it's all down to who you're working with. You know, like, a company could have the best reputation ever and 500 5-star reviews on Google. It doesn't matter. You could have one person in it that happens to be above you that would just ruin that whole thing for you, and they wouldn't represent what everyone else is saying about them. You know?
I think that can happen anywhere, really, can't it?
Yeah, all walks of life.
Yeah. So I was quite lucky that I always had that there, and like, I had that experience where I was abroad before to lean on. You know.
I really appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely an eye opener for something that, you know, our generation would have been Australia, Canada. That's working abroad. You know what I mean? You would have thought that as an apprentice it was there for you. You know?
Yeah. No, it definitely isn't something that I sought out. It kind of just fell in my lap. I'm quite lucky that way, you know. But the options definitely are there. And as I mentioned before, my TikTok page, I've had at least 20 DMs from people asking about where do I go, where do I look for this, you know. So what I would kind of take from that is that it's not something that is really obvious, and it's not like I'm not seeing 100 posts a day on Facebook saying apprentice apply here for work here, work there, you know. It seems to be one of those things that is just it's not widespread knowledge, you know.
You mentioned to me, you know, you were looking to try and get a bit more active online than you would have before. Like, in your own mind, what's the reasoning for that? Like, is it, do you like the community aspect of it? Do you like being able to share knowledge, or what is it for you?
Yeah, like, you know, I would get like good satisfaction out of helping someone else out, you know. Not to give myself a pat on the back or anything like that, but just a case of I've been there as the person on the other end of the phone looking for that help, looking for someone to just point me in the right direction, and just give me the email, give me the number, and then I'll do all the legwork myself. But just giving that little helping hand there about anything, could be anything, you know. I get comments about, oh, can you give me tips for this, or can you give me tips for that? Like, I'm only dipped my toe in the industry here compared to you guys. You are qualified, you know. I still have a long way to go. But if I know something and I know it's definitely true, and someone's asked for help about it, of course I'll try and help them out. Like, what person wouldn't? You know.
It's all ahead of you. It's all there for us to lose, you know.
Yeah. Well, like, I was talking to one of my classmates today, and he was kind of saying that, like, if he was working with someone who was doing testing, that it's kind of being shielded away from him almost, you know, to say, like, oh, I don't really want you to know about this because it might put me in a bad spot here because I could get replaced, you know. If you're able to get an apprentice to do all the testing for you, the qualified man is twice the price, and you know, someone might say,
Oh, look, I think it's, and you've mentioned it before as well, Key. It's, you know, you're training the next generation to, you know, try and keep something and a reputation that Ireland has for electricians going, because I think we probably are one of the best producers of qualified tradespeople worldwide. Like, so it's you're going to get the bad eggs that don't want to, you know, chip in and share and, you know, share their knowledge and help out. But I think the majority of people do really want to help, like, you know. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. It's all in the attitude of who it is you're training, you know. Like, I'd only really have maybe a first and second year with me sometimes doing tasks, you know. And if the lad is just looking at his phone and he's not asking you anything, he's just, and there's no enthusiasm.
If any of my lads are listening, I hope you are listening to this.
But for Key, only man, I rang Key today, and I think you were crawling on the top of like a dingy kitchen somewhere, fitting a fan, you know. And you know, it's that stage where you don't see yourself as being there, you know. You have your apprentices, but if they walked in and saw you doing that, the respect that they'd have, it'd mean more for them, and they know that you're in the trenches with them, you know.
Don't ask anyone to do that and you wouldn't do it yourself.
Exactly.
You end on that?
I think we should end on that, because I think
you have a good question that you always ask everyone at the end of the episode, don't you?
I think it's the most important question of the lot.
Okay.
It's the Spotify song choice question.
Spotify song choice. It's York on a beach, or on the beach.
On the beach, is it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. 100%.
That's a good one,
That's a good one. Definitely get that on. Karl, thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And we'll get you on the challenge wall now, and we'll post that up online then to see how you got on.
I hope you put it on 5 speeds.
Come on, Karl.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Right, that was great. Overload segment. Karl Cummins, what a really insightful interview.
Yeah, great interview. A fair play to him for coming on. Like we mentioned before, like, we want to get more apprentices on. We want to get more companies in here and to promote the trades, the apprenticeships, and I thought Carl was great. Gave a great insight into, going abroad as an apprentice and, getting that experience.
Yeah, it really shows apprentices that are working in Ireland right now that, think that they're bound to local sites and local jobs, that there's opportunities out there to
Travel the world.
travel the world, you know what I mean, and gain experience while doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Right, come here. We've some more of them questions
Right, go on.
in our Q&A, so I'm going to put this one to you. What's the worst excuse you've ever heard from an apprentice or anybody for being late to work?
One of them that I heard before was, and now this was from somebody local within the town, was that their grandmother died. But I'd actually seen them then the following week at a do in the local pub with both grandparents. So I think it's a tough one to go on. It's the old Stephen Ireland thing, isn't it? Like where you get caught out on something like that. I think you gain a grandparent when you join a new company all the time.
Oh, there's definitely people that I've met in the past that, have literally ran out of family members. Everyone was dying off. So, that's a good one. Another one here that was sent in to us I thought was a good one, was if your toolbox could talk, what would it say about you? I know what mine would say. You're a messy bastard.
No, mine would say, I'm dehydrated. I need more. Give me more. Because I'm constantly taking stuff out of it and it's never going back in. It's all over the back of the van. It's all over the...
I thought yours would have said, use us.
Useless.
Yeah.
No, I'm a fecker. I have a tool bag. If I take something out, it's... it could be a good 3 months before it goes back in. It'll be in the pocket. It'll be in the house. It'll be in the front seat of the van, the dashboard of the van. And it'll be sadly missed by the tool bag, I think, by the time it gets back in there.
Yeah, that's gas.
There's one there I think I had from an Instagram follower. Can't actually remember who it came from now. I know it was a voice note, but it was going down for your 11s or your 10 o'clock break. What's your go-to fillings for your roll or your sandwich?
So there's two different types of roll, as everyone will know. There's the chicken fillet roll, which would usually be maybe once a week for me. And then if you're feeling wild on a Friday, you get the breakfast roll. So chicken fillet roll for me would be a brown roll, spicy chicken, butter, grated cheese, and taco sauce. That's me chicken fillet roll.
Do you know what I like on the chicken fillet roll? Hash browns.
Hash browns, yeah. I know there's some of you weirdos out there like the hash browns or the wedges on it. Too filling for me. That's the only problem.
Yeah, see, when I'm getting a roll in like that, I go on the basis that I don't know when I'm going to eat again, So I have to fill up good. But yeah, breakfast, normal. It's sausage, bacon, egg, pudding, hash browns. If there's beans going, I'll throw a few beans on it as well.
No, I'm a weirdo. If I'm going for a breakfast roll, it's just I'll go for the white roll for the breakfast roll. I'd have sausage, rasher, and red sauce. That's it.
Crispy rasher or?
Oh, it has to be cremated, yeah. Cremated.
Yeah.
No, I don't put anything like jelly into my roll. It won't be it. I have an apprentice, Daniel, if he's listening, who's a weirdo for fat, loves fat on meat.
Oh no.
He'll have it like jelly,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
disgusting. So yeah, that's the crack with the another one that came in. We've been asked before. Richard just wanted us to go through, Richard Cockerline that is, just wanted us to go through the apprenticeship system here in Ireland and what you do in each phase and what the phases mean. So obviously you've got phase one is when you're just employed and Yeah, it's your on-site training, so your introduction to the apprenticeship with your employer. Phase 2.
Phase 2, you're getting your first look off the job at your the science behind the electrical installations as well. You're getting a look at a bit of containment and wiring and a bit of board work, I believe, as well, like in the pods. I think it's just giving you a better understanding of the science behind.
Yeah, 100%. And practically then it'll be giving you the best part of your domestic installations training, maybe touching lightly on industrial. And yeah, that's kind of it. And then you're back phase 3 then.
Back out on site. Little bit more respect to your name on the way back out.
Yeah,
a little
100%.
bit more expectation for you as well. It's your chance to try and shine, I think, on site.
Yeah, it's an important phase, yeah.
And I think then you come back in then phase 4 again. You're back onto your science and your academic end of it, but you're getting another look then into the likes of motor control and electronics and the likes as well. So, and
it'd usually be run through maybe like one of the college campuses here in Ireland. So you're getting into kind of more of a college setting rather than just being solely based on the practical and introduction side. You're actually in a college 9 times out of 10. So it's obviously harder. It's just gone a bit more in depth on, as you said, the motor control, the industrial side, and the electronics.
Yeah, you come back out on the site again then, and you're nearly considered then out on site then to be trusted and left alone. But I think a lot more of the daily tasks that you don't actually need a qualified lad with you for.
Yeah,
I think you're at that stage then. You're nearly developing yourself to show your employer what kind of qualified spark
you're gonna be. Yeah. No, that's a perfect way to put it. Most lads would be doing the same work as a qualified, especially in the domestic sector. They should be up to speed with but obviously checked by a qualified electrician, but up to speed with what they would be doing. Yeah, and then you're into phase 6 then, so you're back into college for your final stint. Again, you're just honing in the skills, the industrial side, PLC, electronics, motor control. Yeah, and then that's you done for the college then, back just to finish out your time on site then with the employer, and then you're qualified.
Phase 7 out on site, like you're fully rounded, or you're supposed to be a fully rounded electrician at that stage. Like you would have got to look into a lot of things that you feel like will benefit you as a qualified electrician. But obviously, talking to apprentices and having our own discussions on this before, I think there's a lot to be done, or there's a lot to be substituted in and out of the apprenticeship system. And as Karl mentioned there, he had a great idea, about allowing apprentices to be able to maybe choose what their their final either projects or their final core subjects within the apprenticeship should be based on what sector they're going to work in.
Or based on what their employer is doing outside of the college situation. So
albeit like could be alarms, could be fire alarms, could be
solar,
could be domestic or industrial. So it gives you the opportunity now. I guess like there obviously is a lot of money in that to be able to segregate people into different classrooms. It might mean extra tutors are needed, extra lecturers are needed. So we by no means believe or think that it's an easy
feat. Yeah.
So yeah, look, I guess we could go into a whole episode about the apprenticeship system in Ireland and how go a bit of a deep dive into each phase. But all in all, I think that's pretty much a good perspective on it.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the main differences between us here in Ireland and in the UK is your time that you're in. I'm not sure on weeks, but usually we'd count it a month. So phase one, you're in for until you're called for phase two, basically, and then phase two will be nearly the duration of 6 months. Then you're back on site, called again for phase four. Then, so you're roughly 3 months there. Back on the site again when you're called in. Then phase six is roughly another 3 months. So that's it, and then it should be done and all within 4.5 years.
Yeah. So I guess for anybody looking to get into an apprenticeship, you want to, be committed to it, because it's a
stint.
It is a stint. But look, I guess we'll keep this episode rolling, and we might touch on more questions maybe next week again. But,
yeah, because a good few of them came in, so...
Yeah, it's too many to get through in one episode. But we've got Chris Loughlin, MD of Hispec, joining us now for the special guest interview segment.
Let's get into it.
Thanks for joining myself and Keith on the podcast, travelling all the way from the UK today. I hope you haven't had too much Guinnesses before you came in.
No, not yet.
No.
Holding on.
Be no thanks to us anyway. We're going to shove it down your neck just to loosen the mood. No, appreciate you coming over, and it's great to have you here. It's great to meet Mark as well over at Sparkling Live.
Yeah. Mark, he talked you up, so you've a lot to live up to, really. But I guess, having somebody like yourself, like the MD of a company, like really sort of brings our podcast on a bit as well. Like, was myself and Keith, like, have started from what we would talk about the trenches of, work, like, our apprenticeship and, working on the sites, and, we've slowly worked our way up with guests, and, having the likes of yourself on, like, is a big moment for us, like, because it's,
It's a product we use, and, to have you in front of us is it's a privilege, so thanks very much.
No, I really appreciate you inviting me on. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and look, I guess what we do with all guests is we just try and bring it back a bit, take them down a peg or two. Tell us a bit about your upbringing and where you grew up, and maybe what school was like, and what type of interest you had, and how you got into maybe what you're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. So grew up just south of Manchester. Grew up just playing every sport on the planet, and that's pretty much sums up the upbringing in terms of just competitive, anything competitive competition, any sport really. That's where I just sort of found naturally the best fit, whether it be captain of a rugby team, or the school I went to was really, really heavy into sport, heavy into rugby particularly, at quite a good level. And I think that's just sort of gone from there, and then spiraled into university and different things, and even in business now, just trying to beat and compete all day long, really.
And academically, like, did you see the path for yourself when you were in school? Did you go down the business side of it, or was that something that just came along later for you?
No, it's a bit of a funny one, really. So my dad has always been in sales, and he's been a sales agent for big brands like Manrose, Triton Showers, those sort of guys.
Oh yeah.
So we've been around it for like 45 years. I went to uni, actually studied law at uni, did a business management degree whilst I was working, and different things like that. And it's always been about I don't know, I think sales and business in general is probably, it's not easy, obviously, it's extremely stressful and things like that, but it's the most controllable thing I think you can do. It's, like you guys, it's a skill set you have, train for, you do. Whereas I think you can work on yourself a lot easier in sales and business. Like I've done a billion courses on leadership, and some are terrible, some are really good. And I'm obsessed with like motivational videos and, books and quotes, and, our guys will tell you I've got quotes all over my office. I've got quotes in our conference rooms, all that things, like no passion, no point. And I just think you can make what you want out of business, really, and sales in general. I think that's the key thing, really. And I think that's where our growth's come from, because I think we've attracted like-minded people. Yeah. Everyone on the team is one-way focused, and it's just to grow.
Yeah. Do you think people that don't take that mindset, obviously within your company you encourage it, but do you think people that don't take that mindset are kind of, curtailing themselves in their careers?
Yeah, I think, it's like the debate of like working from home and stuff like that. people can do what they want. You know, if they want to work from home, that's fine. If they don't, they can be trusted, all that sort of thing in their own businesses. A lot of my friends work for, you know, big corporate businesses and stuff like that. But I think the way we've grown as a business is everyone's on the same path, but you're on the same path and the same mindset because you're always with each other and you're constantly working with each other. And I just think it's easy just to make the excuse now of like, you know, certain areas aren't very busy, or, you know, so maybe contractors aren't that busy in that area, or our wholesale customers are quiet and this and that, but you make of it what you want. And, you know, we're still nobody as a business. You know, £20 million turnover is brilliant compared to what we were, but we're in an industry where £2.5 billion spent on lighting, £500 million spent on smoke detectors. We're nowhere near it. And I think people who come into the business do not last if they don't have that same mindset. Like, you know, people can laugh or cringe or whatever, but the goal is to take over the world and make, you know, the name Hispec be in everyone's lips. And I think the product development we're doing now and getting it out there, and I don't know, the route to market is really starting to grow. And I think we just want to get undeniable products and just get our sales guys on it, really.
But it is dangerous as a company to live on your laurels, isn't it, really? Like, because like you're mentioning there, the amount of money that's being spent within the industry, there's always somebody coming behind you, and you always have to be up there with innovation, and like you are doing with products right now. And where do you see the likes of, you know, innovation with the likes of your products taking Hispec in the next 10 years?
Yeah, I think because I think there's two sides of it. So I think we compete with a lot of companies who are much larger, maybe they're owned by conglomerates, international, whatever. And I think that has their advantages, and, you know, the buying power and the budgets and all that sort of thing. But I think our advantage is we sort of are liking it to you know, an aircraft carrier. You know, it takes all day to turn around, whereas we feel like we're on a jet ski, we can kind of do what we want and just try and get around them as quick as possible. Yeah. Particularly in our industry where there's a lot of old boys club, and, you know, it's the same groups and the same companies all sit together as a little gang, and then we're trying to constantly fight that and battle through it. We're quite a young, hungry team for that. I think our innovation lies in more being adaptable to what the market wants. And to me, if a contractor thinks it's a good idea, I mean, doing something the other day, and I saw one of the comments on one of our posts was about our smoke alarm, saying you should have levers, you should have lever terminal blocks on there. Yeah. And like, it's very easy for us maybe historically to be like, and I think this is what larger companies do, yeah, leave the development to us, mate. You know, we take every single bit of information, and it rightly or wrongly, sometimes wrongly, but at least we'll try it, and we'll, you know, we are a sales focused business at the grand scheme of things. We're not a technical innovator. We want to innovate as a business, but technically, these companies are much more specialist than us. You know, in the IoT technology.
Do you invest in R&D at all? Yeah,
so we again, this is probably the last 2-3 years, we've really started to heavily invest, particularly in certification, quality assurance, and then development. So our partner factory over in China, they have an R&D facility with 60 people at the moment who they're all University of Hong Kong in Shenzhen. They're all on the campus there, and they're constantly just getting our current range and trying to upgrade the technology to, whether it's extracting data from a carbon monoxide detector for social housing, or whether it's alerting your phone if you've got a fire, and even down to linking with other systems, you know, with environmental sensor systems and CCTV, that sort of thing as well. So we all our expertise has probably come in the last year or 2 years, but I think that's because we can only really recruit people when you become a bigger business. You can recruit a better standard person. It's very easy to say that, you know, surround yourself with people who are clever than you or who are sharper than you, but you can't do that when nobody wants to join you. And it's only been the last couple of years we've been able to actually attract that talent, where, you know, now I go into meetings and I'm bloody preparing for them, I'm nervous for them, because people are pretty sharp in there.
Yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know, could you walk us through your progression from, you know, coming in to Hispec and working your way up to where you are today?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, my dad was a sales agent for different manufacturers, and he got to a point where he wanted to import a white label product. So whether it be switches and sockets, fans, heaters, anything you could basically sell into the electrical wholesale market and put a label on. And he did that for about 5, 6, 7 years, sort of thing. I was at uni studying law. Then I was trying to become a cage fighter, kind of, as a semi-pro, whilst kind of working in a bar in Sheffield. Kind of did a bit of everything, but not really having any direction. Yeah. And at the time, the business, Hispec, was about 3 people, with my dad and two administrative people. And it was basically an avenue for the agency side. And I was basically, a year after uni, had no direction whatsoever. And he just suggested, do you want to try and be like a sales rep for us? And I was literally the typical person who, on paper, who works in the family, works with dad, took the piss, lazy, useless, didn't really care. And then he basically called me out on it. It was like, because he's quite
as
brutal.
you do.
Yeah, he's quite brutal that way. And he's like, look, do you want to keep fucking around, or do you want to get on with this properly and try and make something of it? And so it sort of all switched in my head. It was like, there's an opportunity here. And the turnover was 200,000 at the time. And then I basically became our first sales rep, grew the area quite significantly in the 6-9 months, like the Yorkshire area, then North East, then got first other salesperson in. It sort of snowballed. And then up until probably about 5 years ago, we were still hovering around 2.5, 3 million. And then we just reinvested all the profits we were making back into better quality products, better innovation, a bit more marketing. We had no marketing manager, no marketing team, anything like that. And then got a sales team around us, internal, external. And then over the last few years, we've gone from 3 and a bit million to 20 million pretty rapidly.
Brilliant.
And really, honestly, through just working harder than the competition, I think it's all it is. It's not particularly brains, it's not particularly ability, it's just doing more than everybody else. Last year, I think I was at home, I don't think I had a week in the last 6 months of the previous year where I was at home for more than 2 nights in a row, just everywhere, and it worked. And now we're at a better position where we've got this really good infrastructure where we can now grow we're focused more on longevity rather than rapid growth. And we're in the Times Top 100 fast growing companies last year. And I think once we restabilize and go again, I think we'll probably jump back in, and that's the goal.
Brilliant. Unreal, isn't it?
Unbelievable. And it's like seeing the growth, not just as a business, but personally. Do you find that, starting off in the trenches of a business, working your way through, being out on the road, meeting people face to face, creating relationships that are going to last long, that are going to benefit the company? Do you feel like that now, as you, with the title of MD, do you think that keeps you grounded in a sense and is a benefit for the company?
Yeah, I think, we've got a really, really, really good finance director. Joined us about 18 months ago. And to me, I see him as much an MD as myself, and I focus on the sales side and he focused on the running of the business. And I think we can't forget what got us to the dance sort of thing, which is that relationships, is the sales, is listening to people, getting feedback. I mean, I was out with one of our guys last week in London, just had 2 meetings. We had about 15 different actions from it, like, well, what product can we do with this? Or what can we change on that gear tray? And, what routes to market? And then, well, what contract are you dealing with? And then all of a sudden, you've got like a whole day of work coming back. But obviously, it's quite hard when you've got to come back and run a business of 38 people. But it just shows that it's still there. Do you know what I mean? And that to me, sometimes I'll lose if I'm in the office for 4 or 5 days of a week, I'll lose a plot. Like the last thing I would do is sat behind my screen. Just rather to talk to people. I think that my strength probably in the business is the relationships with our people and customers. And I think retaining big customers and getting good staff is my 2 sort of roles, really, I'd say, in the business. And everything else, well, the boring stuff, I'll leave it to the others. But I think the quality of people we got is our biggest. It's the biggest day-to-day issue, because you've got to manage that, and you've got to keep people motivated. You've got to. Everyone's personality is so different, but at the same time, it's our biggest strength by a mile. And I think we're quite a lean business, and the 38 people do the job of 50 easy.
Yeah, that's great. What was the next question I wanted to ask? Yeah,
I was just thinking, like, along the basis of price point. So, like, a lot of people think of businesses earning and growing, and you're talking about turnover, but that turnover then obviously has to relate to the people that you're selling to. So, how important is price point when it comes to life safety systems and making sure that it's affordable for everyone?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest sort of misconception overall with our product range or other manufacturers and suppliers, is that because it's affordable, what does that mean for the quality? And I've had customers say to me, like I've had a customer in Scotland, for example, with our battery smoke alarms, say, could you put a watch battery in there so I can charge more? Because people will naturally think it's heavier, so they're more expensive. I said, why don't you just show them the British Standards Institute certificate that shows that it's been tested to all these standards for the BSEN number. And I said, yeah, but it needs to be heavy so I can sell it for more. And that is a problem with our industry a little bit, is that it's so many old school thinking that has got to this position. And I think with us, all our products in the fire and CO detection side of the business, which is obviously the most important in terms of life safety, they're all certified by the British Standards Institute. They've all got a 5-year warranty, 10-year estimated life. They're all tested in Hemel in London. Like every fire safety product that is tested and certified by the British Standards Institute, it's all the same building, same smoke tunnel, that sort of thing. And I think we feel like we have now got a product which is the right price for what that product is. And it's not overpriced, it's not cheap, it is how much a smoke alarm should cost. And I think getting that message across is more important than what historically, it's our own fault, we've been like, well, we're an affordable alternative, or we're a cheap version.
Yeah.
Whereas now we are how much a product should cost. You know, we have to have price increases, because we're adding features every month, every quarter. But at the same time, we're never going to take the mitt, because the reality is, if you've got a choice of putting 4 smoke alarms in your house and it's a bit expensive, you're probably going to put 2 in. And if those 2 don't interconnect because that's a bit expensive, then all of a sudden there's a fire, and there can be a major disaster, major issue. And there's not inadequate product, but it's inadequate a number of products to alert you. Like we talked about earlier with the regs here, where between every single habitable room, you know, are you really going to do that if you didn't have to legally do it, when the cost is so high with certain manufacturers? And I feel like we can offer really, really good value for money with the exact same regulation. And
well, that's what we mentioned earlier on. Certain companies have, I know here in Ireland and probably in the UK as well, they have the monopoly on said smoke alarms, and just for us to have an extra option that might be cost effective to ourselves and to our customers, because we talked about it earlier, we're having houses where we might have to install maybe 12 smoke detectors, and a heat detector, and a carbon monoxide alarm. Like that's running up a big cost for our customer. So to have something, you know, at a slightly cheaper price base, but still have all the same or even better qualities, is going to be great for us.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the big thing, is you're not compromising. It's just you're just paying an affordable, reasonable cost. And we feel like as a business we're reasonable. We're very happy with our margin, and all our profit goes right back into the business to either on stock, R&D, or people. That's it. There's no two ways about it. You know, we don't have nice fancy offices. We are in a warehouse in the north of England, and every time we grow, we need more desks. We knock a wall down. That's literally how we do it. And we've got stock coming out of our ears, because we're always constantly just reinvesting.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, our customers and contractors now are starting to really understand that's sort of our niche. That, you know, as a solution provider, we can offer a solution that's actually affordable.
Do you think it's important to, you know, keep relationships with the likes of landlord associations or, you know, social housing associations? Is that like a big thing for you in order to not just help you grow as a business, but also to, you know, promote the safety aspect to those type of domestic environments?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one thing, you know, social housing as a whole, it's relatively new industry for us in the last 2 years. So we've gone into and learned so many things. And, you know, there's certain housing associations we've worked with, they've started to utilise our products over their existing, you know, leading manufacturers. And, you know, they're all not-for-profits, or majority not-for-profits that we're dealing with. And, you know, on one hand, you could say, well, why are they bothered? But the other hand is the excess money they're reinvesting, and that reinvestment is therefore improving the community they're supposed to be serving. And I think that is a huge, huge, huge element that's going under the radar.
Yeah.
You know, yes, you can buy something that's got all singing, all dancing. Do you need it? Is it being used? You know, Internet of Things, for example, some of the technology is brilliant, but there's plenty of studies out there that show that after that first year of subscription for particularly smart products, say, whether it's a smoke alarm, whether it's a heating control, it's not being renewed, which shows it's not being used. And you can have all the clever products in the world, but the reality is it's social housing first and foremost. And you've seen it with damp and mould at the moment, particularly in England, with our floor coming in. You know, it's all well and good monitoring it, but if you're not going to do anything about it, there's no point. So it's trying to figure out where the budgets lie and where we can help social landlords save money, then reinvest in maybe increase security or community projects, that sort of thing, really.
Like what you said there, that the compromise where they might get something at a better price point could be put towards maybe sorting the damp issue rather than paying so much for, detecting it and not being able to actually eradicate it.
Exactly.
But I know we do a lot of work with Dublin City Council, and one thing for sure is they won't compromise on quality of the products. But like you said, if there's an alternative at a cheaper price point, it just, like you said, it allocates more money for other things across the range of things that they'd offer to a house as well. So that's where it comes in, and that's where I think it's going to really kick off for you.
Yeah, and I think it's very hard to prove your quality to someone if they don't know who you are, or they've not used you before, and they've not had the years. In the north of England where we're based, we have a hell of a lot more contractor engagement, social housing providers utilising us, because it's all well and good me saying this is going to last for this long, but unless you've seen it yourself, installed it yourself, felt it yourself, you probably not. You might not believe it. And the one thing we sort of pride ourselves on is if we switch someone over to our brand, they very, very, very rarely go back to what they were using, and I think they almost see the smokescreen disappear a little bit. But we've not got unlimited budgets and market potential, that sort of thing. We're constantly working towards that, and we're at a lot of events, a lot of trade shows. But you mentioned there about social housing and working with them to sort of get the issue of fire safety out there. We've worked with the Association of Safety Compliance Professionals, so ASCP, part of Corgi Technical, over the UK. And they've got 5 events this year, which we've got guys speaking at each event. It's only a 15, 20-minute slot. But we're not trying to go there with a big stand and saying, oh, buy our product and this and that. We're going there talking about a particular issue and a particular regulation that they might not be aware of. Yeah. And, because they do rely on the manufacturer and as the experts, really. And I think that's one thing we're trying to change from being 10 years ago, maybe an importer, jack of all trades, master of none, to now being a specialist in life safety and housing solutions. And that ranges across emergency lighting, domestic fire, commercial fire, and things like that.
What would your stance be on if you were to maybe compare it to the likes of, say time clocks where you have like EPH, or, you could nearly pop off any type of time clock and there's a universal base for it to go on to. Do you think it's important to have similar type of bases in fire safety where, bases can be interchanged easy between different companies' models?
Yeah, I think that again, it goes back to social housing. If historically they've used a particular product and it's not financially affordable or possible to rewire all these properties and go in and redecorate and change the base, change this, change that, do an asbestos check potentially, that sort of thing. We have a product, we offer a circle arm that will fit on 95% pretty much of housing stock in social housing. Going to save people 30% cost straight away. Then on the replenishment, you're going to save again. We want to be that solution provider. We do it the same in our lighting products. We have a retrofit gear tray that will fit into a 2D bulkhead. Most manufacturers' brands, we're not the only ones to do that, but other people do it. And we're trying to have a retrofit solution that can really save time, money, and resource for housing associations. And I think smoke detection is a massive area where that's never been possible before until our product. And I think that ability to go in, if there's a faulty alarm, change the whole system, but just popping them off and popping new heads on rather than uninstalling, and all the time and effort that takes. Yeah,
because I know with council installs and their bi-yearly inspections, that's something that they'd be looking out for. And in terms of changing smoke detectors, you're not crossing brands. So for someone to take, for myself, for instance, to take your high spec smoke alarm in, you're going to have to change the base and try and integrate and change all the bases. But to have the universal base on it, you can literally change them all out in the one hit, and it's a time effective thing as well. So you're not going in and completely dismantling the whole installation.
Universally cost effective then for everybody involved,
Oh, 100%. And even in terms of testing and stuff like that as well, you're not really compromising the installation either. You're literally just popping off and plugging in and then do your test and you're gone, you're done. Exactly. And that's what like we'd want to see, especially as installers.
Obviously, tragedy and fire is probably one of the worst in a domestic property. But then you look at large domestic apartment blocks like Grenfell, obviously highlights issues then when it comes to the likes of the importance of life safety systems. Since Grenfell, has that opened your eyes up to the importance of lobbying for products to be more accessible, not just within the social housing aspect of it, but just universally? Like, you look at retail, you look at the domestic end of it, commercial end of it. Does there have to be a price point there, or some sort of middle ground where you're looking at your product to be the go-to product, or is your focus more on the life safety aspect of it at all costs?
I think particularly with the Grenfell situation. So I did like a talk on the state of the emergency lighting to this conference a few years back, and I think they found out 12 years before 2017, so 2005, the Kensington and Chelsea management tenant organisation who were looking after Grenfell, they'd done a check on the emergency lighting and found like 75% of the emergency lights failed the test. No one knows what brand they were, and likely it is in social housing, it's probably a very well-known UK manufactured, maybe assembled, whatever, brand. And no one's blaming the manufacturer. I suppose they're blaming the organisation for not enforcing the contractors to do anything with it.
Yeah.
At the same time, if the budget allocated to electrical rewires or upgrades or whatever is taken up on the cost of the product, then it's a bit of a chicken and the egg. Like, what do you do? Like, if the budget's not there, it's not there. But it's life safety. So, I don't know. All these different councils and social landlords, they have different ways of allocating the budgets to different types of things. And I think with fire safety, emergency lighting is a big area that we sit in, and I think that's just usually left to one side, maybe not taken as seriously as it should be. And the reality is, you can have all the smoke detection and sprinkler systems in the world, but if it's pitch black when there's an emergency, you've got no chance. And I think that's the biggest thing with the Grenfell, any other tower block like that, because there's been plenty since then as well that haven't been as well documented. I think it's just all about, if the funds aren't there, why they're not there, and if there's a way to reduce costs for, in a like-for-like product. The reality is, brands are brands for a certain amount of time until the next one is a brand.
Yeah.
You have to look at consumer units, that's where fuse box come out of nowhere and dominate the contract industry and is
disrupting.
Yeah, exactly, disrupting at a price point, but at very, very good quality, because otherwise they wouldn't get fitted again. And this conception of like anyone could just bring a product in, put a CE label on it, and that's okay, it just doesn't exist. Like, the costs and the charges and the time and, certification for the range we're bringing out now, it's taking almost a year. And that is from start to finish, back and forth with our factory, back and forth with our R&D department, back and forth with BSI and Emma Hempstead. It's really, really, really important, but it's very costly. And everyone is on the same level playing field when it comes to quality. And I think that's it's the whole brand around fire safety. Well, I don't want to touch it because I know that brand, it's life safety. I don't think it's any different on a consumer unit. I don't think it should be any different on a lighting product, because the reality is, you look at Grenfell, it was an electrical fault. The product that was the issue, fridge freezer or whatever it was. And, why was that not specifically spec'd more than the products detecting it? So,
yeah, the domino effect of it all. And
yeah,
it's like taking it back to what you said. It's like, developing a product, you can push your boundaries so far, like when it comes to costs, and then that product then has to be sold. But, at the end of the day, you're, like you mentioned before, pushing a product out there, that's the price that it should be. And I don't think there should be such a hang left on price when it comes to safety.
Yeah.
There's obviously the bracket of people who, put a lot of money into their R&D. They're going to develop their product to be the premium product. It happens in every industry. It happens in every sector and every type of products that are out there. I think it's just amicable for yourself, like, to say that, you're putting your time and effort into making a product that's going to be the price that it should be for it to be mass. What's the word?
Mass rollout.
distributed.
Yeah.
I think fair play to you for that.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think we could put our price up by 15% today and still sell probably the same amount.
Yeah.
But the reality is over time, that price then becomes the normal price. So then there's a knock-on effect with the band above us, the band below us, and all of a sudden everything just goes up. And it's like inflation, but it didn't happen because we just decided it. There's no consequence. There's no consequence for a price increase today, but we could absolutely have one. But it's that balance of corporate greed almost,
Yeah.
and what's good for the business. But if you're ramping up your overheads and then there's a disruptor like ourselves coming in, then there's only so much you can keep going up and up until you start and spend, £100 for a bloody smoke alarm.
Kind of levels off then, and that's the problem we're having, only a select number in the one area with the monopoly on everything, but in terms of the growth of the company then as well, just a question of my own, was there a growth in the amount of products that you've produced, or since you came into the company, how many products do you actually sell?
Yeah, so our average product is about £8, £9.
Yeah.
And we're doing, I think 19.6 million is the highest we've gone, and that really is a massive shift on fire. So this percentage used to be very much lighting and fire. Now it's 6 different categories, either sitting in fire or sitting lighting, to commercial and domestic, and then emergency lighting, site lighting, general use lighting, and then there's an air quality range as well. But the percentage of sales at that time, as we were really, really shooting up, was 85% domestic fire, and the rest really a mixture of lighting. Whereas now we're sort of the percentage is coming down a bit, and it's more 75% smokes and 25% of general use lighting. But we're selling millions of units, and and a big thing again for the focus point is sometimes returns rate, and per 100,000 units we sell of our smoke sectors, it's 0.081% returns rate, and that's everything. If you've got a house with 3 alarms and one's beeping, not every contractor, but some contractors more out, send them all back saying these are crap. The amount of we get installer error, we get all these different error, and sometimes there's dust ingress and people haven't stuck to the manual and this and that, but really the fault rate is minimal to zero. And on millions of units, I think it's because the other thing as well, we're putting ourselves out there by putting millions of life safety units out there, and having a great relationship with BSI and their stamp of approval, their kite mark, does make you sleep at night a little bit better, but you still never know. And it's just constantly improving. And our technical manager Craig, he's got his own project of basically, it's great having MPD, great having new products, it's exciting and that sort of thing, but he's got a constant product improvement plan where he's going from every product A to Z constantly. See, is that the best product we can make it? And some products we sell, like we have a Polo bulkhead selling 15,000 a week sometimes. This still could be better. There's still improvements to be made, and there's still issues that we have with it, even down to label and marketing, that sort of thing. So we're just constantly trying to improve what we've got and not try and do everything like we used to. Just be very, very good at a small amount of product range. So.
How many products is there in total across the whole range?
In the domestic smoke alarm range is about 40, and then it really varies, but about 300 SKUs altogether. But I'd say we had about 800 SKUs this time 2 years ago. So dramatic. We had what we thought was 800 product SKUs, but then when you start breaking it down by percentages, and it's one of those things where you wake up in the middle of the night and thinking, we can't be selling that many products of that, because I see the orders, I know that's not what's going out there.
Yeah.
When the hell did we last sell a 1200 by 600 panel light? So we had like a 4-hour session with our buyer, finance director, and went through every single product. And I mean, it's like I'm some genius. It's that 80-20% rule, 80% of our sales will come from 20% of our products. But some of them were embarrassing. Like we just can't say we sell panel lights because we don't. We've sold 12, and it was an idea. We just chop, well over 50% of our products, which is a bit of a risk, and, throwing them in the skip and not even trying to cut the price. Because, historically, again, we just reduce price, but then you pull the level of your brand down because you look like we used to be buy 12, pay for 11, deals and stuff like that. But just reduces the potential of the brand, upsets you back really. And so we just chopped so much of our products that just were not selling because we weren't focused on it. I can tell you now, I actually wouldn't have known about some of the products that were on the shelf because we didn't focus on it. So now we're much more of a focused business.
having a core batch of products now that you're focusing on, as a company, like right through, like from your reps and, you know, sales, technical, aftercare, is it important for them and important for you to know that they are keeping on top of the knowledge that's needed within that industry in order to sell it to the right people? And then obviously then when it comes to the aftercare, if needed, that they'll be able to, you know, reputably be able to look after clients after install.
Yeah, so we re-inducted everyone back in the business about 6 months ago because we had a lot of change. You know, our Christmas party, there was 38 of us this year. Last year was 21, and that's everyone in the business at both times. Year for that was like 14. So because we had so many new people, good and bad, but a lot more good than bad. We've re-inducted everyone in the business. We wrote like a Hispec Bible. So like, you know, if you walk into the office, you know that Pauline over there at the weekend, she likes to go for walks, you know, like just to try and get everyone back in, they become a closer unit.
Yeah.
But it also showed like our process in China, like myself being over there, what I spoke to the factories about, all that sort of stuff. But then also very in depth on the product categories. And, you know, it's life safety and health solutions. That's what our market is. That's what our core range of products will always be now moving forward. So it's what we were doing anyway, but we probably didn't focus on that as a business. Because sometimes I'm guilty of things in my head, presuming everyone knows what I'm talking about and what I'm thinking most days. And like, but then so we re-inducted everyone in the business, and everyone did a 2-day training session on all the product categories. Even if you're working in accounts or you're working in marketing or you're working on the road or whatever, everyone had to do it. So everyone's on the exact same page. Really good for like team building, really good for just getting ideas out there. You know, we have a sight lighting range, for example, and the temporary range. You know, some of our guys in accounts and marketing were like, why this is a temporary range of products. This is like this is not sightline. We're not if I'm going to use this for my car or when I'm walking my dog, it's not sightline, is it? And even that, it just starts the conversation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're very confident now that the technical ability is there. We've got a learning development manager, Ryan, who delivers CPD training as added value to our wholesalers, customers, to the contractors. But he also is very massively incentivized to train our internal guys. So with this new product launch, say it's floodlights, you know, what are the features, what are the benefits, do a training course, get samples out to the guys, do some troubleshooting with them, you know, show them exactly if it's a manual override, do you actually know what that actually means, and show, you know, all those basics that you think are basic, but, you know, some of the guys, they're technically minded salespeople, but they, you know, so okay, twisted, they're not former in the trade. Some people come from different backgrounds, you know, different industries, and I think it stops any bad habits, because sometimes if you get a sales rep from another company who's come from a much larger business, they can hide from different things, and, you know, they know how to work the KPIs and this and that. We just want our guys to own that region, and the big part of that is being an expert in the product, being an expert in the distribution, but know the contractors and get relationships with the contractors, because the reality is no one's going to give better feedback on our products, good or bad, than the person who's selling them, and that's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah, I presume that's massive in terms of even a wholesaler approaching the person that's after selling it to them with a problem, or maybe just a solution, like you said, like to an override that maybe the wholesaler doesn't know about. He's getting a contractor coming back into him and asking, why is this product doing what it's doing? Where there's probably a reasonably good explanation in the manual that if your salespeople know it's you know, it's back out to the contractor, everybody's happy, all's good. Like,
yeah, and I think what we're doing like a bit of a cycle now, where we're going to be retraining everyone on every sort of aspect, and constantly going through the categories and going through the ways you explain that to the wholesaler, explain that to the contractor. And, you know, and I think it's just going to be constantly evolving. You know, I don't think we'll ever be there. No one's going to ever be an expert. But we have certain guys who are better at certain categories as well. There's some guys who are brilliant at explaining the features of a batten fitting, but other guys who are so much better talking through the smoke alarm range. So trying to get everyone up, leveling up all the time.
Even in terms of the wholesaler, like any good wholesaler is going to want to know that information straight off the bat. Because we've spoken previously on different episodes about the qualities between different wholesalers, and there is a lot of wholesalers, larger wholesalers out there that don't really care about that side of it. But then you've got the independents that really care, and it's really important to their business to know those things.
Well, we partner with a company called Bentol, who distribute for us over here, and you know, they've been this last year, they're under a different name, but now it's rebranded under Bentol. And those guys, you know, there's not a lot they don't know about fire, and they've been a massive brand awareness sort of tool for us. And our presence in Ireland has gone through the roof because of the work they've been doing. But they educate wholesalers and the contractors. I think they have a really good way of working with both in different ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to be careful not to patronise them, and all these sort of things. You've got to work with who you're working with, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And like you're right, some nationals are harder. Some independents are, really keen and hungry because they see the opportunity. And then others are just extremely busy. You've got 50,000 SKUs you got to sell. They want us to be the eyes and ears for that product range. And I think having a key partner to distribute over here has been a game changer for us. We've gone from, in the hundreds of pounds 2 years ago to probably almost $1 million this year in Ireland. And I still don't think we're breaking a sweat here. We're still, the opportunity is gigantic.
What's the lifespan on one of your smoke detectors that's now sitting in somebody's property right now?
So standard across any manufacturer is 5 years warranty, but the battery life is 10 years with the expected lifespan of the alarm to be around 10 years. But really, you say decorating cycle is about 7 to 8 years. That's usually when you start to replace them. We wouldn't recommend anyone have an alarm that's over 10 years old. It's got the date on the side that you can just put in when you install it. But it's pretty much 7 to 8 years is probably, that's when people start looking at replacing.
Well, it's good that it looks to be that you're going to be catering for two sides of it, the retrofit. So retrofitting old existing alarms, and then also you have the product range where if you're doing a new build, you've got the neater, smaller fire head as well.
Yeah.
So the game changer being able to do both.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big thing the last couple of years, particularly social housing, is did not realise how big the retrofit market is and how stronghold it's been held hostage a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess personally, or maybe professionally, what kind of legacy do you think either yourself or the business Hispec could leave behind for the UK and Ireland?
I think personally, as a business, I think we're quite unique in the fact that I think we're quite a young, hungry business in a very antiquated industry. But it is led by a lot of companies who are 50+ years old. In the industry, I think we're very much trying to do things in our own way, and we're trying to really be a solution provider rather than a product manufacturer or supplier. I think that's the one sort of difference. We're trying to add value. We do a lot of work with the guys at eFix on their college connections.
Yeah.
We support them quite a lot. It's about the next generation, and we want to work and add value. We don't want to just be, again, what we were historically and what a lot of our competitors are, which is box shifting maybe, or just offering something at a good price and all that sort of thing. We want to really add value and be. I want our phones to be ringing off the hook of people asking us for advice on, I've got this property. The regulations say it's an LD2, but I think I need an LD3. That sort of thing. Whereas at the moment, we're not there yet. But I think we need to be seen as people who you can actually pick up the phone to. We've recently upgraded our website. We've got massive push as a business on our sustainability goals. And that ties in nicely with the fact that we're trying to help the industry whilst being a transparent supplier that absolutely manufactures in China. We're trying to do everything to offset that as a business in the UK. I think legacy-wise, I've had all that stuff in the past where, I won't use that as crap, or I won't use this, or, I've had issues with this. And I just want to be that 0% returns rate of, really, really good product quality, and break the myth that you have to be an established brand to have a really, really good quality product, and be the first supplier really who is offering the best in class product, but at an actual reasonable price point and not taking a piss.
Fair play, yeah.
Yeah, deadly. And personally then, in terms of your own growth, for anyone out there that's a budding entrepreneur, is there any quick tricks or advice that you'd like to give them?
Give me a pen now.
Yeah. Record.
Well, I've actually got I've got a recruitment business with one of my best mates. And, I think the biggest thing I've seen with that is, so it's been going 3 years, is that if you're not in it, it's so hard to influence it. It is a cracking job. And we've got 2 guys now who've just started on that side of the business, and, they're very experienced and that. But it's very frustrating when you're not there, you know. And I think I wish there was a magic thing where you could have 5, 6, 7 businesses and you could just touch base with them once a month and, you know, and have, oh, he's a good lad, so I'll just trust him. And you just can't, you know, people is the single hardest thing I think about business, and not being able to influence stuff daily and influence routine or influence behaviours is so difficult. And it's so difficult to see real growth. And I feel like Hispec's grown because we've grabbed by the scruff of the neck and dragged it and made it grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way to do it. And I wish you could find an answer. It's a bit like it's a bit like public speaking. You know, before you have to do a big speech or your wedding speech or best man speech, you Google like, oh, tips and tricks for best man. It's just practice. And it's like the worst advice you want. You want to be like, no, there's a trick where you don't get nervous. But, you know, it just doesn't exist. And it's the same with this. I think, you know, you just got to be in it. You got to be an expert. And every single person who works for you needs to know that, you know, as much, if not more, than them about their role. And so that they believe in what you're trying to do and that you're not sat there coming in late, going home early. You know, you see it all the time. And I think that's the downfall of businesses, that complacency, because we'll never be done. You know, 20 million is great compared to 4 million, but it's nothing compared to 50 million. It's nothing compared to 100 million. And we're never going to stop until, well, there will never be a number, but it's about getting that name out there. You know, 5 minutes ago, people were saying, is it Hispec or Hispec? You know, so we're past that. Yeah. Now it's how do we get to the next level? How do we get to the next level all the time? Just trying to constantly grow and evolve.
It's just taking it back to, like, even just thinking to my father, like, years ago, saying to me, like, you know, you're never going to score that goal if you're not in the box, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like what you're saying there, just be in it, and, you know, you'll
got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, you'll make your own luck, you know?
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah.
It's been a great chat. It's very insightful, very eye-opening for us, like, to see what it's like on the other side of the office door, you know, and how things are being ran. But there's a big, important question that we ask to every guest before they go, and that's to add one song to our Spotify playlist. What song would you add to it?
Let's put me on the spot. One song. Well, it's from Manchester. It's got to be Oasis, so...
Are you blue side of Manchester?
No, red.
Red myself. Yeah. Only got somebody.
That's embarrassing.
Well, what's even more embarrassing is my wife and 3 sisters and dad are all City fans.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Now I know why you're working so much.
we have a box at United called entertainment box. We've had it for the first time this year.
Yeah,
it's brilliant for bringing customers.
Oh, great!
You know, from people.
I'll have to get your number. So.
Yeah. Probably Wonderwall from Oasis.
Daily one. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Class. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
Right, season 5, episode 7 in the bag.
Yeah, what a great episode. Thanks first of all to Karl for jumping on the overload segment with us, giving us a great insight into being an apprentice and working abroad.
Yeah.
So thanks to him. And then secondly, Chris, MD for Hispec, came in on the special guest interview segment. What a brilliant journey he's been on. So really enjoyed that one as well.
Yeah, and a special shout out to Mark from Hispec for putting Chris on our radar. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we can all link in further on down the line and see how we're all getting on. But big thank you to our sponsors, Robus Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company, for their continued support of the podcast and for us going forward into 2025 and for future seasons and whatever else we have going on.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Yeah, and like I said, and like I always say, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you head over to wherever you get your podcast, give us a like and a follow to be notified when the next one drops. Take it easy, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.